Michaelnagar Shikshaniketan Higher Secondary Government-sponsored co-ed English medium school has taken an excellent initiative of teaching and make our students learn day-to-day lessons through audio and video in our YouTube channel. Teachers of all the subjects are working hard to enhance these online classes in the midst of this pandemic situation. It is a request to all the teachers, students and guardians to click the bell icon and subscribe our channel.
Here is your third part of your following same chapter, the continuation of your same chapter, that is Industrial Revolution. I hope I have explained in the first and second chapter and all the topics which have been talked properly, line by line, is clear to you. We shall be starting the next part of your chapter, this, and we shall be starting from the 8th topic or the 8th point, that is in page number 81 in your book, that is the development of communication and transportation. As the England, or as for the industrialization, the new sailors which were emerging, or the England were in find or in search of new sailors. So his destination or them's destination for the finding of new sailors have been stopped in various parts of China, Africa and Asia. And to build the export and import relationship more effectively, the transportation of communication, I mean the development of communication and transportation emerged. So we all know transportation and communication. If we are having any business with some other countries, with some other towns, or so with some places or the parts of world, then one should have a very proper and very strong communication. And apart from strong communication, one is also in need, then that is the strong or particular or very particular proper transportation facility. So here comes the telegraph system. So the telegraph system is the railway system, which you have also read in chapter 8, the telegraph system, chapter 8, not in class 8. Then the transportation started, and then the emergence of Suez Canal started. So these three are very important parts of this development of communication and transportation. Please go through your page number 81 and 82. We shall be going in the next part, that is 9th topic, that is transformation of India from an exporter to importer. So here one of the most important topic is arriving, that India, the country India, used to known as a सोने की चिड़िया, in Hindi definitely, and also known as a jewels or land of jewels. India used to know a land of jewels. Land of jewels. In Hindi, India was used to known as a Sone ki Chiriya, and during the 18th and 19th century I am talking about, where this all the functioning was started as a worldwide, and in English, land of jewels. So why? Because during that time India was very resources land. It had been stated in every historical part. You have read that India was one of the most resourceful, one of the most resources in nature, in terms of nature. So people used to cultivate, and the gold coins as a currency used to be published during that time. The Maharajas and emperors, and during the time of before the coming of colonization, people used to use the coins of gold, currencies of gold used to be used. So that's why the India has named as a land of jewels. So here India has been transformated into from an exporter to an importer. So we shall be knowing about the two important factors of India been emerging from an export and then import. It means in both the ways India was doing the business. Now let's study that which kind of Indians, is it the Britishers or colonials, because during that time, during 17th and 18th and 19th century and further goes on, India was been into the parts of colonial, or India was not into the hands of freedom. So they were the colonial peoples. So we shall be learning here. Transformation of India from an exporter to an importer. What it says, what your textbook is saying, let's read this. Page number 82. After the English came to dominate over Indian territories, their primary motive was to extend markets for British goods. Prior to that, Indian handicraft had a steady market in Europe, particularly India was the world's principal producer and exporter of cotton textiles. But the Industrial Revolution in England completely changed her economic relation with India. With the help of modern machine, England developed her industry that produced a huge quantity of goods. The product of England found their way into Indian markets. The Indian handmade goods could not compete with the cheaper machine goods produced in the factories of England. Thus, India not only lost foreign market for her manufactures but also saw her own shops flooded with the goods of produced in England. Deprived of exporting her manufactures, India was now forced to produce or forced to export raw materials, which the industrial plantation products like indigo, tea and other things were in short supply in England. But in order to run the industries, abundant supply of raw materials was essential, and India, being a colony of England, was guided by the needs of the British industry. Thus, India, a country that had been an exporter of finished products under the British colonial rule, was transformed into a country that imported machine-made products from England. So, what has been stated in this particular paragraph? It has been stated that as during that time, India was under the rules of colonial people, and colonialized people or the Britishers were in need to have a construction or to have a proper amount of business facilities with that of England. During the or with the help of the England's industrialization, then the British or the India were the product of finished goods, where India was the exporter of a finished product or finished goods. But slowly Britishers or to get the raw materials in a cheaper rate, England saw India, and India was constructing, or India were providing the raw materials in a cheaper rate, and that particular raw materials were going in the England. The product has been made in the factories, and England is exporting it, or England is importing it, the produce or the product in India, and Indian peoples are purchasing the England exports goods in triple or 5 times increased rate than that of the product or the finished product which they used to purchase based on Indian produce. Clear? So now 10th, colonial rivalry and European imperialism. Now we shall be learning about a rivalry of colonialism and a European imperialistic countries. Okay. The Industrial Revolution that had begun in the late 19th century spread across most of Europe by 1900. By 1817, the industrialization reached a level when there was a need for greater supply of raw materials. Such a supply could only be ensured if the powerful nations owned or controlled a large extent of underdeveloped nations. Economic aspects of colonial expansion. Here we shall be learning about what are the aspects. First, economic aspects of whose expansion? Colonial expansion. As the 19th century advanced, the European countries became more and more interested and active in overseas expansion. First, the Industrial Revolution gave birth to the capitalist system of production. Under the system of maximization of profit was the primary motive of production. When the major European powers had become industrialized, it was not possible to sell the product to one another. Hence, the industrialized countries had to look for new markets and buyers for selling the goods they were producing. Number 2, larger markets for selling the surplus products were needed as the industrialized nations of Europe sought to protect their own industries. The industrialized nations, for protection of their industries, raised the tariff or tax barrier against each other. In this way, the possibilities of one industrialized country selling its manufactures to another industrialized countries were limited. Another incentive for colonial expansion was the tendency to export surplus capital from the industrialized nations of Europe to the underdeveloped countries where rates of interest were usually higher than that of home. Home, it means the place where the production is getting. European countries found markets for selling the surplus goods in Asia and Africa where industrialization had not taken place. Political domination was inevitable in order to protect the market from other European rivalries. In addition to markets, the European countries needed raw materials to feed their own industries. As all that was needed could not be procured locally, the European countries had to look out for such countries where the raw materials were available at a cheap price. Abundance of raw materials in Asia and in Africa attracted the European countries in a cheap prices. Abundance of raw materials attracted the cheap countries, and abundance of raw materials in Asia and Africa attracted the European countries to establish political domination over the two continents. Okay, Africa and Asia, two continents. And now, as this all the political and all the outcomes are emerging simultaneously or gradually only for the Industrial Revolution, here one Jingoistic Nationalism also emerged, which is in B, page number 84, Jingoistic Nationalism. So, let's read what is Jingoistic Nationalism. Nationalism in the late 19th century came to be associated with Chauvinism or Jingoism. For some European nations developed the myth of their superiority over other peoples. Not only that, in the second half of the 19th century, imperialism became a fashion of that age. The power and prestige of a European nation depended on colonies it had acquired. Even the writers of the time openly promoted the idea of imperialism. Moreover, many Europeans favored imperialism as a promoted the idea of imperialism. Moreover, many Europeans favored imperialism as a civilizing mission. They considered imperialism as a way to bring civilization to the uncivilized backward peoples of the world. For example, Jules Ferry of France said superior races have the duty of civilizing the inferior races. Likewise, Rudyard Kipling of England was in favor of this countryman shouldering what he called white man's burden. This is to say, the white people, meaning the Englishmen, should discharge their responsibility of civilizing the backward peoples of the world. The above reasons prompted imperialism by the European powers. The weak government of the countries of Africa and Asia became the soft targets for the European powers. So, here what Jingoistic Nationalism? Jingoistic Nationalism is a group of people who are proclaiming that they are one of the most royal in blood or royal in class, and they are basically white men or Englishmen, and it is their duty, as they are one of the most according to them, as they are one of the most considered to be one of the most imperialistic, one of the most high rated classes in around the world. So, it is their responsibility to improve the backward classes of people around the globe. So, here where the Jingoistic Nationalism emerged, and the soft target of Jingoistic nationalisms were in two continents, India and Africa. in the shorter way or in a precisely Asia or Africa. After this, please go through the page number 85 and 86 to know what are the correct explanations of jingoistic nationalism and what are the exact points of what are the thoughts or what are the motives behind them in the scrambled parts of Asia and Asian countries and Africa. And here we shall be learning about the First World War. Okay, we shall be learning about the First World War. First World War is one of the most important world wars out of the wars which had overtook till now, and you have to get to know the knowledge why First World War happened, what were the reasons behind that, and what were the consequences of First World War, because the consequences of First World War eventually brought the outcomes of Second World War. Okay? In a synopsis way, First World War overtook or it continued for the 4 years. It started from 1914 and ended up on the year 1919. And it were having a triple alliances versus the Asian countries and versus the imperialistic countries. So basically, either it's a First World War or Second World War, the Asian countries or the country Africa, these were mere a puppet. They were only producing high raw materials in a cheap rate. They were providing the soldiers to fight in the First World War and so on, and they were not any kind of direct motive for India or Asian countries or for Africa. As they were colonized country, they were helping their masters as it had been served or as been targeted as one of the soft governance. So let's read 11th part. The First World War. In 1914, Europe was divided into two armed camps. On one side, there was the Triple Alliances formed, uniting the major European power, Germany, Austria and Italy. This was matched by a similar agreement, triple entity that included Britain, France and Russia. By 1914, these two opposing camps, each with the supporting allies, faced each other in the First World War that began in 1914. Three crises that made the war inevitable were the Balkan crisis, Moroccan crisis and Agadir crisis. The fourth one, the July crisis of 1914, constituted the immediate cause of the war. Okay, so I shall be writing something by which you can remember the First World War very nicely. Let's do it, and you have to draw this particular item which I gonna to draw on board in your class copy or in your note copy. Okay, so I am writing here. You might face it a very funny, but this is the way I have learned when I were of your age. So I am making one man here. I am making one man here, and this man's name is First World War. First World War. His birth year is 1914 and death year is 1919. Okay, and his name is First World War. His name is First World War. Now I have four parts here, 2 hands, 2 legs. So here I shall be explaining what are the reasons behind the First World War. So the First World War the reasons behind the First World War has been written as main, M-A-I-N. Okay. M refers to military, A refers to alliances, and I refers to imperialism, and N refers to nationalism. These are the reasons of First World War. I am writing here reasons of First World War. And there are some of the exact event which overtook. So, I will be naming this two hands. Here, Moroccan crisis. Next is Agadir crisis. And then is July crisis was stated as immediate cause. July crisis. So, what happened in July crisis? There was a prince, okay, and in July crisis, the sort of men killed that particular prince, and hence the outbreak of First World War emerged. I hope this is the easier process of you, that what are the reasons behind the First World War. I am repeating the same because this is very important for your class 9th history. M states the military purposes, military alliances between the other countries. A states the alliances, I refers to imperialistic countries and imperialism, or the motives of imperialism countries, and N stated as a nationalism. So, they were the people who belong from nationalism or the thoughts of nation state. They were the people who were also supporting imperialistic countries, and there were also people who were making alliances as in security in charge. For example, why they are making alliances? Alliances is also stated as a security purpose. Alliance is also stated as a security purpose. Why? Because during that time, the weaker countries are thinking that the opposite country or the other countries are getting richer or powerful day by day, and hence if they are not if they have to face the circumstance, the bad, worse circumstance, they have to face the survival. So, for the survival, they were facing the alliances between the richer countries. They were helping hands them that if they have to face some destructions from the outside of the powerful countries, then the other opposite powerful country whom they have been allianced to, they will be helping that particular poor country. Then the military purposes. What happened military purpose? As simultaneously the emergence of powerful countries emerge slowly, they want what? To improve their imperialistic countries' power. They were grasping, or they were simultaneously gradually increasing their military power. So, the main reason for the First World War stated as the name of main, M stated as a military, A stated as the alliance, I stated as a imperialism, and N stated as a nationalism. And the sudden outbreak, it means what did in a form of ghee in a fire pyre. The three reasons is Moroccan crisis, next Agadir crisis, and July crisis. In July crisis, a prince from England had been gunshotted, and just after this July crisis, the sudden outbreak of First World War started. So, I hope this is clear, this part is clear, and for further thing, you have to go through your page number 86, 87 and 88. I hope the overview of First World War I have cleared. If you have any trouble, then you have to comment below the comment box to mention which part is been having your facing the problem. I hope I have cleared this industrial revolution with the hand. Industrial revolution has also emerged or it has also helped the emergence of the First World War, which were way more destructive than the Second World War, which we will be continuing in the Europe in the 20th century. That is the next chapter in your next videos. So thank you. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Leave a like and comment. Subscribe. And do share the video among your friends.